With the Call of Duty 2026 season just around the corner, I thought we'd be able to talk about every single team going into Black Ops 7 as well as the power rankings. And we're going to start with none of the team in OpTic, Texas, and let's be honest, we're going to put them S tier. OpTic had a pretty decent start to the year, getting third in Minor 1, going 6-1 in their online qualifiers to the Black Ops 6 season. Then on the land, they just didn't perform well. At that time, Pred was dropped for unseen reasons and picked up by Hook, which again they won 6-1 online qualifiers where they placed top 8 at land. Hook gets dropped to pick up Pred, and then they go on the most devastating, disastrous run we've ever seen, going 0-18 map count in a qualifier stint, which is insane to think about. Then at the Major 2, they drop Kenny for Skies, and then they get top 8 again. They drop Pred again for Hook again, and they get 8th at top 8 at Major 3, but then they pick up Merc for Skies and they look infinitely better. They get top 4 in Major 4, and then they turn up to both the COD champs and EWC, winning both of them, going back to back in wins and also back to back COD world champions as an organization, winning the launch invitational, only losing maps to Gentlemates, who then eventually beat OpTic in the K-Shon Showdown just a few days ago. This team is still amazing. I think everyone's still going to have the number one. The team is actually going crazy, and we love that. We love to see it. Next up, we have LAT, and I'm gonna put them in A. Now, LAT is coming off a pretty interesting year last year. Just to start, in the start of the year, they were doing okay. They placed second at Major 1, and then fourth at Major 2, which I believe was, they definitely thought they were underperforming. But after that, won Major 3 and Major 4, scrap at back-to-back MVPs, and was MVP of this season. Champs CWC, they just bottled it, which is kind of interesting. I don't think anyone expected them to go out dead last. Things started to fall apart there, and then they go to EWC looking a form of what they used to look like, and then they barely won against Gentlemen in EWC last year, and then they played a really hot OpTic, and then we already knew what OpTic did at EWC. They drop Ghosty and Envoy, and they pick up Abizi and Kenny. Temp and Abizi have been a duo for 6 straight seasons. I think they're the longest tenured duo ever. And finally seeing Abizi without Simp, and we're seeing Simp without Abizi, but we'll get more to Simp when we talk about FaZe. Kenny's coming off a pretty insanely bad year for him. I mean, I think Scrap and Hydra is like pretty much safe, but this is generally their last year on Thieves. Scrap and Hydra are going to be free agents going into the ending of Black Ops 7 season. So if Kenny has the best chance to win a tournament and champs, it's with this team, the IGL that they need him to be. I feel like Kenny is a step up in as a leader than Ghosty, which I understand that. I don't need Kenny to drop like a 1. I need him to just be consistent. Like, obviously, I need him to drop like at least a 0.8 or 0.10, and just giving out effective comms, telling what the team should do, and then doing more objective work. I'm excited for this roster. I think they'll definitely win some trips, and they have a chance to win champs this year. Next up, we have Boston Breach, and we're going to put them in this year. Boston Breach are coming off a pretty interesting year. Start of the season, they got top 12 Major 1, then Major 2 they got top 6, Major 3 they got top 6, and then Major 4 they got 12th again. But then at champs they got 3rd, which I don't think anyone was expecting to. And even at EWC they got top 8, which again is pretty commendable. I mean, no one expected this team to get higher than more like top 8, so getting a top 3 and a top 6 bad. Going into the offseason though, they did drop Awakening, which I did agree. I think Awakening was the weak that roster specifically, but then they pick up Nasty, and now Nasty's coming off an overall great year with Surge, getting them to 4 grand finals. Yes, their map count was not great in the grand finals. They only won 3 maps into the 4 grand finals that were in, but Nasty's shown has been improving ever since he's in the league from Vanguard. And if out of every team that isn't the theoretical top 4, I'm excited to see this team the most. Now we have the Miami Heretics. For right now, I'm gonna put them in the top of C. This team is coming off a really insane year last year. They dropped Vickle, and then pick up Rencor. They got 3rd at Major 1, then they got top 12 Major 2. They dropped Lucky for then Super to get 4th, 3rd, 4th at those corresponding majors. EWC though, they Dre out to Toronto, a whole bunch of drama there, and they pick up Trakes. Now Trakes has been a player I've been watching not too long, but what I've been seeing from him is pretty interesting. He's, I think, the first Argentinian player that's ever. Their core trio is really. I'm excited for this roster. I like seeing them play. I like Rancor and Super as players. Metal continues to, but I like that. Hopefully, they can get their first win relatively soon in Drakes. I'm excited to see the kid play. I think if we have any person that's going to get Rookie of the Year, it's probably going to be Drakes. Next up is G2 Minnesota. I'm going to put them at. Now, Minnesota are coming off a pretty interesting start of the year with Nero, Paul X, Estriel, and Joe. That was their team from the beginning of last year. They got 6 at Major 1. I don't think anybody expected. And then Major 2, respectively, they fell off a cliff. They lost to a pretty struggling OpTic Texas team at that point in time. They dropped Paul X for Kenny because Kenny was dropped from OpTic. And they overall look better with Kenny. I don't know why, but the overclock event, I'm not going to talk about that. And you see they keep Estriel only. And they spot the rest of it. I don't know if I want to call this just like early game, like you're gonna fall off a cliff again or what, but I generally think this team has potential. I do like the composition between Krempt and Estriel. I want to more of this. Mamba and Sky's gonna be interesting. I like Sky's being the more leader. It's gonna be pretty nice to look at. Mamba is his first year in the league. I definitely think he has potential to be a great level player. Except his Ravens, and I'm gonna be quite honest, I haven't been. Now, Carolina Royal Ravens had last year suffered from the Vivid. At the beginning of the year, they were doing pretty well. They dropped Vivid for Rex. Now, I think Rex was a CDL caliber player at the time. However, that team suffered from the Vivid effect, meaning once they dropped him, they got exponentially worse, getting dead last at the last every single turn. But they keep slashing. They drop everyone and pick up Praise, Lurks, and Nero. What's interesting to me about this roster is that Nero decided to go for a flexible to what Vivid did last year. Praise coming off an insane year in Challengers, and then Lurks again coming from Challengers. He was another member on the Stallions, Zuma, and he. There's a lot of talk about him. Everyone thinks he has a lot of potential, but out of game issues prevent him from being the best person he could be. This team's interesting. Now, I could be wrong, but at this moment, I don't think they're any higher than. Next up is Cloud9, and I really don't know where to put them. This Cloud9 is coming off a pretty overall bad year last year. Afro, so they dropped everybody and picked up Vivid back. Afro is coming off a pretty good few years in Challengers. I think he definitely should have been in the league last year, but Beans coming off a pretty interesting year. I mean, he was on Ultra, and at their peak, they were a top 3 team. After Beans was then locked on the country thanks to Trump and Merc got subbed in for Ultra, he wasn't really as great as we thought he would be. Ultra, and honestly, I think squandered it, but I also think that Ultra should have kept Beans and Insight. And then Vivid and Mac coming off pretty interesting years. Mac was originally on, but then after Major 3, he was Capsule. Vivid, as we were talking about with Ravens, they fucked around and found out, and they dropped Vivid, and they got worse. Teams up with Mac and Challengers under Omit, and pretty much placed top 8 at EWC. I don't know if it was roster. I think the only person I really like on this roster is Afro. I think Afro definitely, he's a really good sub player in Challenge for the last 2 when he went down there in NW3 and then Black Ops 6 overall. And Vivid and Mac, I'm kind of intrigued to see how they're gonna fare this year. I'm not entirely sure about the roster, other than Afro just having a really good year, I believe. Next up, we have the Paris Gentlemates, and we're just gonna put them in A. I think they are the second best team in the league right now. They were not having a good year as the LA Gorilla Mates, which, first off, that name was horrendous. I wish they would have gotten that branding sooner. Everyone literally thought it would have been pretty decent that year because that's literally the NYSL team for 2023 minus Hydra plus Lens. Everyone thought, oh, this could be a pretty decent roster. Turns out, it wasn't a great roster at all. They got top 12 at Major 1, 2, and 3. And then they got 8th at Major 4, didn't qualify for champs, and then EWC, they got top 12. Now going into the new team, the Paris Gentlemates, they just did their rebrand. I definitely like this team. I'm not gonna lie. Literally, if most people are calling them quite literally the LAT team from Black Ops 6, and I'm Envoy and Ghost here coming from that team, and obviously Civ and that team can like be looked at as Scrap and Hydra, but just like overall downgraded versions of them, which is kind of respectable, but it's true in a long sense. I think Civ is definitely a downgraded Scrap, and Neptune is pretty much a downgraded Hydra. But I definitely think Their potentials are just as high as those two players. I think they have the same potential. It's just I believe Scrap and Hydra are there more consistently than these players are. But regardless, everyone expected them to be a top 4 team, and they pretty much have shown why they're probably the second best team currently. Being the only team that can contest with OpTic on a regular basis. They actually beat them in the LAN, and they play second to them at the CDL Invitational. Sorry, the CDL launched Invitational. And I like this roster. Again, it's just the LET from last year. And I think that team was really good. I wish they could have kept on winning Ghosty, but I honestly like how Ghosty's been playing in this game so far. Yes, it's early days, but he has been playing really good COD. Not playing that facilitator role, being more of a Slayer role, which we know he could be at, because when he did that in NW3, he was doing both and he was good at it. And I understand he took a step back because he had superstar players in the form of Scrap and Hydra right next to him last year. And even then, they were a really good team. And I liked Ghosty and Envoy because out of every person in the league last year, they had the 2 highest percentages in overall objective work. So pairing along them with another 2 pairings of Slayers and actually contributing to the slaying more makes this team deadly. And this roster is going to be contending, probably getting a win here. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see Nets get his first official CD victory. I'm excited for it. I like this roster. I really do. I can't wait to see him play. Next up is the Riyadh Falcons. I'm gonna put them in D. Now, let's be real. The Falcons last year were pretty much dog. They were terrible the entire year. They dropped their entire roster except X-Men, and Pred, and pick up Celium and Kismet. Now, Celium, everyone knows Celium, the King Cobra, literally part of the illustrious FaZe trio before they broke up, and everyone was like seeing, oh, this team's gonna be like low key on paper. It's pretty good. Also picking up Kismet going to a flex role, which I think he could do pretty well. It's definitely a weird team of players together. The roster just looks weird on paper. It looks like an eights team, like a pickup eights. I can see that happening. Like, this is weird seeing as a roster not looking up. Except we have Toronto and I'm gonna put him here. I think Toronto are coming off a pretty Black Ops 6. Not a great year, but the first time in this year where Toronto hasn't won, and got 6 at major. Well, top 6 at major 1. Then they go back to back top 3 at major 2 and 3. And funny enough about it, they got major 2 3rd with Beans, and they got major 3 3rd. And people were saying, why didn't you keep Merc? And I was one of those people saying that because if you're a rookie, your substitute player can get you your peak placing with as the same way you're starting. Don't keep him. Then after that, the Beans comes back, gets top 6 at major 4, top 6 at champs. Then he gets dropped for a Kleenex moves to flex roll, and they get 3rd at EWC. I'm kind of excited to see this roster, obviously, and they pick up Royale from Heretics with controversy in that. I think this roster can image. They got top 6 in Invitational, so I think this team is definitely going to be a top 6 team guaranteed. I don't think I'm not worried about them. Well, top 6, but well, only time will tell. Next up is Seattle Surge, and I'm going to be quite honest. Get the fuck out. Last but not least, have Vegas FaZe, and I'm also put them up. Now, Atlanta FaZe last year came off a pretty good start to the year, but then just drastically falling off a cliff. Basically, after NW3 champs, they won EWC 2024, and then they proceeded to go complete a 3-peat, winning Major 1 and Major 2. However, in Major 3, they just lost to Miami Heritage at the time, which I think were a really good team. Then they got 2nd at Major 4, and then they go top 6 again at champs, and then top 12, losing to an amateur team. And I think that was the straw. That was definitely the straw that just broke the FaZe trio of Simba, BZ, and Cell. And Simba staying on with Draza, picking up 04 and Abuza. Now, there's been a lot of talk about people saying that, oh, they should have picked up Neptune. They picked up the wrong duo for of the Sat Surge roster. They should have picked the Nasty and Neptune, and I kind of disagree, especially with the 04 Neptune angle, because the whole point of getting rid of Abizi was to make Simp get back to that hyper slaying, hyper aggressive role that we remember him as. Abizi is a hyper aggressive sub too, which is why they wanted to try going to what worked with Simp and like get him away from that objective based role. That's why they picked up 04 now. If they picked up Neptune, I think they would have had a similar issue, because I believe Neptune doesn't have that much engagement, objective work. I mean, he could still do it, but he's definitely a more fast-paced SMG. So pairing another fast-paced SMG with Sim is going to probably lead to the same problems, which I think they realized. And then Booza's a really good main AR, really good objective-based main AR, because when it comes to objective work, Sullivan was not doing that much of it either, which is weird because he should have been doing that too, but obviously he's just playing for kills, playing for the KDs, you know, just being King Cobra. Abuza doing, not just being a good objective-based player, but also putting up the numbers. And then Draza, I think regardless, you try to keep Draza because he's one of the best flexes in the league, period. And I mean that as a true flex. So I like that they kept Draza instead of Cell. But I'm more focused on Sim, because Sim needs to prove that he could actually be the best player without a Beats, because he's been teaming with a Beats his entire career. So I'm excited to see FaZe play. I restructured my rankings a little bit. Nothing too crazy. So OpTic's number 1, Gentleman's are 2, Thieves are 3, FaZe is 4, Koi is 5, Heretics is 6, Boston 7, G2's 8, Cloud9 is 9th, 10th is Falcons, 11th is Ravens, and 12th is Surge. This is my power rankings going into the very beginning of the year, and I honestly think this is pretty accurate. I would honestly, if anything, I'd probably switch G2 with Boston, but that's like a toss-up. I'm not sure. But I definitely believe this is top 6. This is top 4, OpTic, FaZe. And I definitely think Koi can definitely fight to be a top 4 team. But I'm just looking at these 4 mainly. I'm really excited for this. I mean, I'm hoping OpTic goes for the 3-peat. I hope they get the 3-peat, because that'll be insane to see. Because no one expected the team to win, an organization to go back-to-back in COD champs, and OpTic did. So now they have the opportunity to do now the 3-peat, which I think the only other player that I know of right now who's done it in esports is Faker from League of Legends. So this is going to be a really fun year to watch. I hope OpTic can do it. It'll be a great thing to see. I also would like Thieves to win champs, because I think Ernie deserves first ring. Time will tell. And let's get into the matches before we close the video. You have OpTic versus Falcons, and I'm gonna probably give it a 3-0 to OpTic Texas. Like, to be honest, cylinders. And I'm excited for see these guys play in an actual CDL match. Next up is Breach. I think it's gonna be a 3-2 for Breach. I think that team just had like a bad showing. I think they've been pretty doing well. I haven't seen their scrims, but I feel like they've been doing well. And I just think their floor has been right. The last match of the FaZe versus, it's Scrap versus Draza. It's Long Neck versus Piano Teeth, and it's more importantly now Simp versus Abizi. And I'm gonna probably give it to Thieves 3-2 game 5 round 11, since versus Abizi round 11 1v1 gunfight for the win. I think Thieves are at a higher place than FaZe, but I think overall FaZe are gonna probably have the record against them. I think it's gonna be a 3-2 for Thieves. The Saturday matches between Heretics and Koi. Now that's another banger, because we know the drama between Koi and Heretics, the Spaniards. I'll give it to Toronto 3-1. I just think that their core 3 of Clean Necks, Jodeci's, and Insight is better than the core 3 of Rencore, Super Metals. Then we have the Gentleman's versus Surge, and it's gonna be a 3-0. I'm gonna be surprised if Surge map against mates. Then it's Cloud9 versus G2, and I'm not sure where to go here. I think I'm about to give it to Cloud9, and I don't know, I might have to do G2 game 5 as well. This is gonna be a pretty close, in my opinion. Okay. And I'm curious to see what y'all think about it. I didn't see this going either. And in the final day of the first week of matches, we have Thieves versus Falcons, the BZ versus Celium, and Thieves are going to absolutely hold 3-0. Then we have FaZe versus Gentlemen's, and I think Gentlemen's are going to win this 3-1. I think Gentlemen's looking like the best team in the league right now, so I don't think FaZe at this current moment in time is going to beat them. Maybe later on down the line we might see FaZe have a resurgence. Currently, I think Gentlemen's really door. Then we have OpTic versus B2, which I think they're going to even. I think OpTic is the series. But those are my predictions. Let me know in the comment section below what is your favorite team in the league and also your favorite match going qualifiers. I'm excited to make content for this channel. Thank you guys for the support you showed on Twitter. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, CDL Kid. Excited to make content. That being said, you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.